Hi, everybody. I'm Gordon Schmidt. I am an associate professor and department chair of the Department of Organizational Leadership at Purdue-Fort Wayne. And so in this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about those jobs of being an associate professor as well as a department chair. I'll talk a little bit about my career journey as well and my experience with jobs. And so I'll start talking about what it's like to be an associate professor. So as an associate professor at a university, what I do is there's a few main parts of my job. The first is teaching classes. So I teach multiple different classes during the course of a semester. We have semesters in the fall, the spring, and then in the summer. And so basically I'm teaching students in a classroom or online of various sizes depending on the class and based on what's being taught. So it's my job to create the content. It's my job to do things like make videos like this. It's my job to grade things. I answer a lot of student questions, whether we're in person or whether by email. So teaching is part of what I do. Another thing that I do is do research. So I do original research on important areas related to leadership and work. So some of my research, for instance, relates to social media and the internet, how that affects leadership, how that affects how people interact with each other in organizations. And so basically we collect data and write papers related to those topics, trying to learn new things, figure out how things work in the world so that we can be more effective, so people can be better leaders, have more influence, and so people can be happier in the workplace. And so I do research that can be academic journals. So they get published in things that are journals or magazine type things. It can be books. I also do share quite a bit of stuff through the internet as well. So talked about teaching, talked about research. The last part is what we call service. Service involves basically helping either the local community at Purdue-Fort Wayne, people on campus, student organizations, other things, or helping the community at large, whether it's people here in Fort Wayne and cities around here, or whether it's helping people internationally. A lot of this can connect with my research and teaching. So if I'm an expert at a topic area, sometimes I will then talk to people in the community or help with things related to those areas of expertise, as well as things that I teach. And so that teaching can also be done in the community as well. I also do student advising. So student advising is talking to students about what classes they should take, how they can get ready for their careers, stuff like that. Now, as department chair, I'm both a professor and a department chair. A department chair is all about essentially for everyone in the organizational leadership department, I help them to do their best. I help them with their teaching. I help them with resources. I help to get them, additional information, provide them with information, help to motivate them, and really I was trying to make it the best possible environment for all the students within the organizational leadership department. And so our department has around 200 different students that are majors that are going for our degrees, our associate's, bachelor's, or master's degrees, as well as a number of students that take our courses for other reasons as well, or part of their own degree program. And so as department chair, I do a lot of things like helping to put a schedule together for classes, help to decide how we're going to do outreach to the community, how we're going to connect with local businesses, and as well as doing a lot of these outreach type things. Certainly this video can fall in that type of category. So those are the two big jobs that I have. Now, in terms of my own career path, most of my career has been in educational type settings. So I did go to graduate school. I have both a master's and a PhD in this topic area of industrial organizational psychology, which is all about the psychology of the workplace. Why do people behave in particular ways? How do we motivate others? How do we be effective at leadership? So all of these things have prepared me for this role of teaching this as well as doing research in that area as well. And so generally to be a professor or an instructor, to be a professor, generally you need to get a PhD. You need a doctorate in a relevant area for that to be able to teach. There are other types of roles like instructor or lecturer that you need just a master's degree, but there is quite a bit of education, and even a master's degree is more education beyond the normal sort of bachelor's 4-year degree. And so we need quite a bit of education in this career path to be successful. So a lot of my early jobs were related to being a student and helping to teach classes or helping to grade and do other things with classes as well. I did have some various internships. So I did do an internship at an insurance audit software company. And so the role I had with that company was I helped to test basically their software. How did it work? Did it function as it should? And things like that. And so that did expose me to sort of working in an office, what that was like, seeing how people were motivated and what was going on. So I thought it was an interesting environment to be in. And so I thought it was useful. Certainly, I learned from that differences of what's a useful task or a less useful. And so some things we did felt very important and they presented that way. Others were presented as if they didn't really matter. So for instance, we organized a closet full of old software that no one would ever use again, on physical disks. And when we did that task, it didn't seem important. It didn't seem to matter. And so we did it very slowly. And by the time I left, we actually hadn't even finished that and no one seemed to care. And so it made me think a lot about how people are motivated. The task didn't seem important and our manager didn't present it that way. So therefore, we weren't very motivated. And so that type of thought of what motivates people has driven some of my research going forward and how exactly I act as a leader with others too. And so if you take a look at sort of a normal day for me, if you think about being a professor, you spend part of your day often answering emails, some from students, some from other people at the university, some from your department chair or your dean or whoever your boss is. I have a decent amount of meetings, especially as department chair. We get together to talk about strategy for the organization. How do we help students to succeed? And then I do research, so that can be reading articles to learn about things. It can be designing my own research. It can be analyzing data and stuff like that. There's a lot of variety in the day, and a lot of it involves thinking and doing new things. And so each day can be very different, which I think can be very appealing in that type of role. I think organizational leadership that we teach is all about helping people be better leaders. And it's a really interesting area for me. And as a department chair who is a leader of others, it allows me to apply a lot of the stuff that we've learned. And so I think it's a very interesting area if you really want to understand how people work. If you're interested in thinking about how do we motivate people, how do we get people to work together, it's certainly a worthwhile career path to be in. And so since I went to my college for an undergraduate degree, that basically got me interested in becoming a college professor, as well as potentially going to this type of area. That wasn't always what I thought about as a career path. In middle school and high school, I thought more towards being an entrepreneur, starting a business. At the time, I wanted to start like a baseball card shop or something else, like things that I was interested in. I think as a professor, I do still get to interact with a lot of businesses, help them to do better. And so I think that's an interesting part that has sort of connected through with what I do. And so advice that I would give to my younger self or all of you in school right now is think about what are the things that really interest you and drive you. And so sometimes we kind of pick jobs and think that job's going to be good or fun because it sounds interesting. But we do also want to think about what are the things we really want to do every day? What are the things that are we think are interesting or enjoyable? And so when we think about those things, that often helps us because we could be in a job that sounds really exciting, but if it doesn't actually involve activities we want to do, that's not as helpful. So things like internships or visiting organizations or even things like factory tours can be really helpful in seeing, oh yeah, this is what it's like here. Talking to people in a career that you're potentially interested in is helpful as well. So if you have questions on anything, certainly you can feel free to reach out to me, Gordon Schmidt. You could send me an email. My email is available online easily enough. If you're interested in going into being a professor or industrial organizational psychology, the group SIOP does a lot of things. If you go to siop.org, that would tell you more about the field of industrial organizational psychology. So thanks a lot. I hope you have a good day.